Right, I think everything is good. Cool. Hello guys and welcome to the Ero F3 Japanese Grand Prix. We're in round 7 right now, as we already have confirmation that the session will be delayed by 5 minutes due to, I think, connection issues for some people, as during this whole virus everyone's internet has been pretty poor overall, to be completely honest. We currently have 12 drivers in here, so not too many more to go. Give me a second while I just try and invite a couple of people, so the visuals will go away for just a minute. Should be back. Cool. Yes, as I said, round 7, 7 out of 8. So penultimate race, and I believe Yopop is able to take the title here if he has a good race. Just gonna check the standings to see if that is true. I believe it is anyway. F3 standings, yeah, so Yopop at the top of the standings is currently 24 points clear of Granty Boy in P2, and is Granty Boy, who got promoted to F2, so won't be able to score points, and is 46 points ahead of Safai, who is P3 and is able to score points here, meaning that if Yopop finishes P9 or above, he wins the championship for Ero F3. So yeah, I'm sure he'll be quite disappointed if he doesn't win it by the end of today, because he doesn't have to do too much to get it. Only P9 for 2 points. So let's just see what he can do. Right, some more people joining now. Let's see, have I got? I don't think I do. Okay, someone else has invited him. Cool. So we've got 14 drivers here currently. I think Yopop's about to join to make it 15, so a bit more of a full grid than in previous weeks, which is always good to see. Just going to check who else needs to join. Is Yopop still not in here? Someone said they sent him the invite. He's still not in here though, so connection issues looking like there we go, there he is. Gonna say, lots of connection issues so far today, so unfortunately gonna just have to deal with it. There's a couple of people have already readied up, even though they've been told not to. Cool. Okay. Oh, we can go. Are you sure that's everyone? So 15 drivers today. Really interesting. Okay, so looks like that's going to be the grid of 15 for this race, which is still more than we had the last couple of weeks, so good improvements. We'll get there slowly. Hopefully next week we can have a full grid. That'd be nice, wouldn't it? So, let's see what you guys are saying in the chat. Wait, how are you streaming? What do you mean? What do you mean, how am I streaming? You can, you can stream through the PS4, mate. And AXA has joined. It's not working YouTube to PS4. Well, apparently it is, because that's what I'm doing right now. Any available spots? So, Theon, if you want to join this league, what you would have to do is contact Ero F3 on PS4, who is, I think he's in this lobby right now also spectating. You might have seen his name a little just below mine earlier on in the stream. If you want to go and check that one, you contact him on PS4 and say that you want to join, and discuss it with him. He's the league owner, so you can join through him. But yeah, I think there should be some available spots. Yeah, this was the last account I signed into. I signed into it about 15 minutes ago, so yeah. I didn't even know there was an issue for YouTube, to be completely honest with you. So as we have, Aled is the first driver to come out on track here. So let's see what he's able to do. Obviously he's got to get around to start his lap first, so we'll wait for him. Very smooth on his outlap though, so hopefully that's a good sign for this race. You're welcome, dude. So, let's watch as he just comes through the middle sector up to Spoon Curve. Getting ready to start his lap. Of course, and as always, feel free to leave any predictions down in the comments. Who you think is going to get pole, who you think might win. If you think that Yopop can take the championship this race, which I think he has to finish P9 or above if my quick maths was right, which of course it just might not be. Yeah, so if you think that he could win this race, sorry, not this race, win the championship this race, go ahead and let me know down in the comments. As we see Aled, the first one to start his lap, or is Lexa? Lexa is actually the first one to start their lap. Didn't notice them all the way ahead. So let's ride on board for this first lap in qualifying. Let's see what the benchmark's going to be. Oh, that's very wide. That's going to lose a lot of time as they come through the end of the first sector. Let's see what the time is, if I can get this up. Fitted. Cool. Right, let's see what it is as they come through. Yopop has joined, so his connection issues might play a part in this race, as we have a slow Renault in the end of the, well, in the middle sector, and we have a spinning Mercedes, so this track is proving to be very difficult for the drivers early on in the qualifying session here. Both the S section and the middle sector seem to be issues for some of the drivers, as we ride back on board with Lexa. She crosses the line for a 1:30.5. Can Aled do anything about that as he comes through the final corner into the pits? He's dived into the pits. His lap was invalidated, so he will not be able to do a better time than Lexa. I believe the next driver to cross the line will be Lopez. See through the final corner, already out of VRS, and what's it going to be? A 1:30.9, so 4/10 off of their teammate there. I'm sure they'll be looking to get a little bit closer as the session goes on. Okay, and I believe that Alex will be the next one to cross the line. What does he do? A 130.6. So far, top of the field here is looking very close. As we have Anu. No, not Anu. I believe that. Ooh, caught that one. Tahiti just coming off of the track of the S section there. So that will be the end of his flying lap. He'll probably dive back into the pits at the end of this. As now Anu does come to cross the line, and it's a 129.6 on the medium tyre there. Fastest lap of the session on the medium, so very impressive there from them. Now the next driver to cross the line for a lap, I believe, will be... who's it going to be? West? Yeah, looks like it's going to be West. So let's see what he's able to do through this second half of the lap. Looking very nice so far. Through 130R. Takes a very tight line, comes out very wide towards the curb, and quickly back over to open up the chicane. Take as much curb as you can through the chicane, and he's out of ERS as he comes through the final turn, and he's dropped it. He's crashed, and his front wing has gone damaged, so he will have to limp back to the pits in order to try and get that damage repaired. And if I'm right, Blackleaf will be the next one to cross the line, so hopefully Anu doesn't get in the way. It's not. As P2 for Blackleaf with a 130.3 on the soft tyre. Very nice there, but still not enough to get past his teammate who is leading the session. As there is a slow moving car somewhere on the track. And next to cross the line, looks like it's going to be the Toro Rosso of Kev. He crosses the line to go P5 with a 130.7 on the soft tyre. And JJ Dog will be next. What's he going to set here? Oh, is that his outlap? I assume that was his outlap. As Simo is coming towards the end of the lap. And there's been a spin in the middle sector for one of the Ferraris. Looks like it's Blackleaf as Simo goes top of the session with a 129.4 on the soft tyre. So still very impressive for Anu to only be 2/10 back on him with harder tyres, as Kev looks like he's made a mistake for the first sector. He's going very slowly. He's now getting out of the way of the Renault. Very nicely done there, not to hold up the lap. Okay, next one to cross the line looks like it's going to be Yopop. Yep, so Yopop will be the next one to cross the line through the final chicane. Again, all these drivers seem to be using their ERS very quickly, not leaving them much deployment for down the straight, and it's a 128.8 on the soft tyre, going a whole 6/10 faster than Simo there. So very impressive from our championship leader at the moment, looking set to have a good race. Yes, so Blackleaf is a new driver who joined. You think first Yopop, second Safai, third JJ Dog and fourth Simo. Okay, yeah, okay, that's very interesting. As Ahmed is out of the session, what happened to him? Hopefully we can see this from the perspective of JJ Dog. I think he's lost it on the second curve on the S section, so he is out of the session without having a lap set. So unfortunately, yeah, looks like it was there. So unfortunately for him, he will be starting last. So not a great start for him. However, I'm sure he will be looking forward to starting on a slightly harder tyre, as Anu going very slowly, I think, letting someone through. So yeah, Ahmed will probably look to start on the medium tyre and make his way up the field throughout the race. So very unlucky for him there to be out of the session already. As looking to cross the line next will be Not Kev, it looks like it's going to be the racing point of Lexa. So coming through the middle sector now, picking up speed towards Spoon Curve, a little bit on the grass there, but it doesn't look like it's hurt their run through the corner too much as they go out, try and avoid the curb there. A lot of drivers you might see try and get up on the curb at the exit there to try and maximise the track width, but Lexa here is avoiding that one by the looks of it, as we have a slow moving Anu in the middle sector, just letting some drivers through, as Lexa now comes through the final corner and goes into the pits, having not used any ERS that lap. And JJ Dog looks like, is that JJ Dog? Looks like they're following them into the pits. Might be dark, as there's a yellow flag up in the middle sector for Lopez by the looks of it, but not too much of an issue so far. So next across the line will be Kev by the looks of it to finish his lap. Anyone on a flying lap? Anu's on a flying lap as he's going through the S section now with that very Fernando Alonso looking helmet in the Ferrari there. So you might, I think you might, Livinov. You never know what's going to happen here at Japan, as looks like Anu might be getting blocked in his lap in. Nope, the Toro Rosso just able to get out of the way. A purple first sector there for the Ferrari driver. So, yeah, obviously an F2. He's not going to win in a F1. Sorry, F3. He's not racing in F3. So Anu coming through the middle sector up into Spoon Curve. Let's see, look at that, using all of the curb, a little bit of slide there, but able to keep it going in a straight line. As more yellow flags, it looks like it's JJ Dog through the first sector is in the gravel trap. So very unfortunate for him there, as he's yet to set a lap. Anything can happen, true. And Anu dives it into the pits, so it doesn't look like he was going to improve there. And JJ Dog has retired from the session in a very strange place, if I'm being honest. So let's see if we can see if Blackleaf's going to pass the incident in the number 67 car. Whew, right on the inside there. And we have... who's looking to cross the line next? Simo by the looks of it. Actually, it might be Wes. Wes going into the pit, so yes, Simo looking like it's going to be the next one to cross the line. Coming through the final chicane with a fair bit of deploy left, so switching between those ERS modes quite nicely. I'm going to try and get the maximum run down the straight here, and what lap is it going to be? It's going to be slower by 1.6 seconds. So not the best lap by the looks of it there. Who's going to be next? Looks like one of the Ferraris. Looks like Blackleaf is going to be the next driver to cross the line. With a very nice middle sector going purple there, 3/10 up on his time. Through the final chicane, over the bump, that annoying bump we all hate, sticks over to the right hand side and moves up to 4th position, improving his time by nearly 6/10 of a second to move right up behind his teammate there. 2/10 separate the two Ferraris, so very close in this session so far, as Yohop comes into the pits. So not looking to improve his time today. To be fair, he is a long way ahead in first position, so don't blame him, as now Kev comes through the final corner and into the pits. So a lot of drivers not completing their laps so far this session. And Aled moves up to P3 with a very nice lap there on this soft tyre. And from the looks of it, everyone's going to try and qualify on this soft tyre during this session. So looks like a very simple soft to mediums for the majority of the drivers here today. As very strange. As Simo actually grabs the fastest lap of the race, the fastest lap in this qualifying session to go P1 in the Williams. So very nice lap from him there. 1:28.7. So only beating Yopop by 1/10 of a second, but still grabbing him provisional pole. As we move into the last 3 minutes of the session here, let's see if anyone's going to come out of the pits to improve their laps, as I think most drivers will be peeling into the pits now, and it looks like the McLaren of Tahiti is going to be the first one to leave the pits, as Dark sets a lap time that doesn't look like it's a bit of an improvement, so Tahiti will follow him round on his out lap unless anyone else does anything interesting. Like Aled, I think Aled's on a flying lap, so let's watch him. Oh, Kev is Metre. Oh, that makes sense. Thank you for telling me that, because I had no clue. Zaled peels into the pits, so not going to be an improvement from him there. Is this Safai? Safai goes P3 with a 1:29.4, so just beating Aled's time there, but moves him up into P3. Very nice there from Safai in the Red Bull there. So let's go and ride on board with Tahiti, who I believe will be the next person to cross the line, obviously on his out lap. Everyone else should be coming into the pits. There's a lot of drivers choosing to leave the pit lane now for what will be a very close call whether they can get over the start finish line before the timer runs out. So not completely sure if they're going to make it. They should, but you never know, as there's a lock up into the final chicane there for Tahiti that will affect his run onto the main straight as he goes over that bump that we all hate. And starting his lap, there has been a lot of chaos going there in the middle sector, so hopefully that doesn't hold up anyone too badly. So through the S section, needs to keep over very tight to the curbs here, as he doesn't quite get the right line. Waiting through the final part of the S section to go flat out through there. Doesn't quite get it flat, so going to lose a little bit of time. What's the first sector split going to be? It's 1:32 seconds as he comes through the double right hander and up into the hairpin. Try and late apex there to get as much traction as you can through the exit of the corner, and through this long right hander that on the lead up to the spoon curve. Let's see, he throws it into there, touches the curb a little bit. Apex is quite early. Usually you want to apex a little bit later than that through there to try and get a better exit down this long run up into 130R. He's going to come through with a 112 through the middle sector, so up into the final chicane now. Very tidy, taking a lot of curb. Ooh, bit of a slide through there, so he's going to lose a little bit of time to that. Over the bump and across the line to grab provisional pole with a 1:28.6, and Simo, who has already finished his run, cannot beat that, so it's all up to Yopop now. So we'll run on board with Yopop, even though I know he's not the next person to draw across the line, but he is looking the most dangerous in this session to grab pole from Tahiti here. He comes through to the end of the middle sector. He's got to watch out for Safai, who's moving slowly ahead of him. What's it going to be? He's 6/10 up in his time, so if he can keep this one clean for the last sector, he should be grabbing provisional pole in this session. Through the final chicane, very clean through there, and oh, he's gone over the bump and he's hit the pit entry, and that's him out of the session right on the racing line. That will affect people's laps. He does ghost there, luckily for West, who set his lap on the medium tyre, the only one to do so, and it has not worked out for him, being down in P13. So I believe Lopez is the next one to cross the line. Actually, Anu will be the next one to cross the line. He goes P4. Anu up into P4 ahead of Safai. And what's Lopez? Lopez goes up into P9 ahead of Kev. So, yeah. That is the end of qualifying there. Very unfortunate for Yopop, who was definitely going to get the pole time there, but just a small little mistake sent him out of the qualifying session with his wheel coming off as he hit the pit lane entry. Very unfortunate from there, as he tried to stick over as close as he could to that entry for maximum time gain. As for some reason, as the commentator, I'm still earning XP for being here, so yeah. So let's see. Tahiti grabs pole there with his one and only lap. Simo gets P2, Yopop P3, Anu P4, Sifai P5, Aled P6, Alex P7, Blackleaf P8, Lopez P9 and Kev in P10. The top 10 being covered by 1.7 seconds. More interestingly though, the top 3 being covered by 0.2 of a second. Lexa, Dark, West, Ahmed and JJ Dog round out the rest of the grid of 15 here today. So that's the grid set for the race, and we will look forward to its start in a couple of minutes here. And it's raining, full wet conditions. Now let's see who has set their car up for the wet conditions, knowing that it would be like this, and who is going to be caught out here. This should make for an interesting race. It's a tricky track as it is, but in full wet conditions, I believe it is. I think they're starting on the full wets. Looks like the drivers are starting on the full wets in the bottom right hand corner of my screen there. Can't quite see. But I'd imagine with this level of rain, it will be the full wet tyres going onto these cars, which will make it even more difficult than this track already is. As some drivers found out with retiring from quali. Yeah, rain. Oh, this could be very interesting as the drivers prepare for the formation lap. And there we go, they're going. Ready to start this formation lap with Tahiti on pole. Now let's see, is he going to back up the field on this formation lap, or is he just going to go for it? It looks like he might just be going for it. Looking to win the formation lap as well as quali. That's a bruh moment, yeah, very much a bruh moment. Yeah, well, I mean, you guys will be racing Suzuka next week, so just got to get through Mexico first, and you can experience it for yourself. Yeah, so very unfortunate the UF1 guys are now a week behind. It's made it a little bit harder to be practicing with some bigger lobbies. So I'm pretty sure every driver will be starting here on the full wets. If anyone's starting on the inters, I would be very surprised, to be completely honest with you. As yeah, every single driver is here on the full wet tyre. So let's see what they can do. 27 laps this race is. Now, with this level of rain, I wouldn't be surprised for the whole race to be wet. But you never know. With this game, it could finish dry, which would be a very interesting race with strategy. So we'll have to look forward to that. But I wouldn't be surprised to find out that this race stays wet. With not a single bit of blue sky can be seen. Look at that. There's a little bit sideways from the final corner there from Tahiti. So as he pulls up to his grid slot, P1, I believe his first pole position of the season, with the penultimate race, as a couple of drivers have been disqualified from the formation lap. So I missed what they did there, but let's hope it doesn't happen down at turn 1 in the race. As this is a very awkward angle that I'm not really appreciating right now, as we see the front right tyre of Tahiti. I guess it gives us a good view of Simo there in P2, but it doesn't give us a good idea of what's happening with the rest of the field. as I think this is actually the view I'm going to start the race with. So the lights are turning on by the sounds of it. Can't see any of them, and they go out looking like a very squirmish start there from our leader, but he does get cleanly ahead of Simo as they head into turn 1. Yopop on the outside of Simo. Simo is sideways. Wow, Tokyo drift in turn 1 here in Japan, as we have Aled off the track, victim of turn 1 unfortunately, as Yopop does move up into P2. However, they're still side by side through the S section, and Yopop is round. That will send him all the way to the back of the grid, unfortunately for him, as he resets the track, which is not allowed. So we'll have to see what will be done about that one. Tokyo drift in the formation. So very unfortunate from some of the drivers here. There's been something big gone on at the end of the S section, as drivers are bunched up a lot, and doesn't look to be a safety car, although was very bunched up there. So I wonder what happened to them there, as Yopop has already moved back up into P9, where he needs to finish in order to win this championship today, by the way, as he tries to go around the outside of Ahmed, through the long right-hander. He does make it a clean move, and there's a bit of debris. Oh no, that's not debris, that is the brake marker board for Spoon Curve someone's destroyed there. So they've been very far off the track to break that, as Alex has been swamped into down the straight here. He's got 3 cars looking to try and get past him, including both the Ferraris, as Yopop makes another move. No, he doesn't. Kev, however, does get past Blackleaf through all that, as Alex has gone wide. He's going to cut the chicane to gain a position there. I believe that's gaining an advantage by doing that, but let's not speak on it. As side by side between Kev and Blackleaf here, as they head down into turn 1. Looks like Kev's backed out, but this gives Yopop the chance to try and go around the outside. It doesn't quite work out from there, so he's going to have to slot back in behind through the S section, as we have 2 drivers, West and Lopez, already in the pits for damage, what I'd assume, as I'm pretty sure in the wet here you can get away with the no stop, as Yopop gets a bit sideways through there, trying to go around the outside of Blackleaf. Doesn't work out for him, and at this point Blackleaf is just holding him up as his teammate looks to get away. However, Alex, going very slowly, is looking to defend from both Kev and Anu. Kev goes up the inside of Anu, as Anu looks like he's left the space for him, as Simo has left the session, so his AI will be driving very slowly until he can get back into the session. 5 cars all battling through the hairpin there. Very close, very nice racing to see from these guys, as Safai is now moved ahead of Simo, and Blackleaf looks like he's made the move on Yopop, as Yopop Kev tries to go up the inside through Spoon, and he does get the move to work on Anu, as he now looks forwards to Alex. He's already alongside the Red Bull driver in the Toro Rosso, gonna go side by side through 130R by the looks of it, and no, Kev does back out, as we see Yopop going up the inside of Blackleaf through 130R, and he has made that move stick. Looking round the outside here, and this switches to the inside for Kev, who pushes Alex quite wide, and this allows Yopop back through up into P5, and Alex has lost 3 positions in the space of a corner there, as he now runs side by side with Blackleaf, who's going to try and go around the outside. It's not going to work, as Yopop gets through on Kev, but Kev tries to switch back. I think he went a bit wide there and lost a bit too much momentum to be able to make that switch back to work, but Yopop already back up into P4, looking to hunt down the disconnected Simo. So through the S section we go, and that looks like he's already going to get ahead of Simo through there. So up into P3 for Yopop, and he's very comfortably going to be able to win the championship in that position, as Alex goes sideways, and that allows Ahmed to make a triple overtake to the end of the S's there, and Anu gets pushed off the track by what looked like his teammate there, and will fall all the way back to P10 with Aled right behind him, as Simo is now being swamped by this gaggle of cars as he tries to reconnect, as that's JJ Dog way off the track there going into the hairpin. Looks like he's avoided getting any damage, but does receive a penalty for that one. Oh, little bit squirmish there for Blackleaf as JJ Dog tries to go around his outside. Oh, they've collided, and that's both of them off the track. Damage for JJ Dog. Blackleaf looks like he's survived getting any damage. Very unfortunate for him going around the outside. Looks like he just got on the a puddle there or something, and virtual safety car has been deployed for that one. So JJ Dog will have to limp back round to the pits after that strange incident, which was very unfortunate. I don't think that was anyone's fault necessarily. It did just look like a racing incident for me. Now, does anyone take this opportunity to go into the pits? I would doubt it, because you don't have to stop in a full wet race. As virtual safety car still going, but it looks like it might be ending as the drivers speed up and JJ Dog enters the pits. So very unlucky for him so far today. Already got penalties, and now this. As Aled is finally through on his teammate, who is still disconnected from the session, as Lopez gets a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car. Now that is very unfortunate, as Aled licks his teammate back through. Interestingly, was it an illegal overtake or something? The game being very weird in that situation, I think. And now we go back on to the fight at the front. Sefai is very quickly being caught by Yopop as Tahiti is leaving the field as fast as he can. He's already checked out from this race, and let's hope he can continue to do so, as we have Lexa very close to the back of Aled through the hairpin, as Aled finally gets through on his disconnected teammate. Very unfortunate for Simo there, as Yopop is through on Sefai. Looks like they're still side by side on the exit of Spoon Curve though, and Sefai's going to tuck behind Yopop through 130R. Now, can he do anything down into the chicane? He looks a bit too far back for me, but yeah, he chooses to stick behind, so nothing's going to come of that one, as looks like Blackleaf is catching up to the back of the fight between Lexa and Aled ahead of him, and we have JJ Dog, West and Lopez all very close, as Yopop sets the fastest lap of the race, and he's now going to use the space he's created himself to chase down our leader Tahiti, as Blackleaf finally makes his way through the ghosted Simo. Very, very unfortunate for Simo here today. Qualified well, but connection issues has ruined his race. Let's hope he can get back in and do something about that, as Yopop is catching Tahiti. A couple of tenths a sector it's looking like, as the gap is already down to 4.5 seconds, and Sefai is round. He has spun and he's hit the wall, and he has damaged the front left part of his wing, as Kev gets a 3-second time penalty. Ooh, very close there for Ahmed, who moves up into P4. Very unfortunate for Sefai there, losing it on the braking zone into the double right-hander there. As now this is going to allow the likes of Anu and his teammate Alex to catch up to him, so very, very disappointing from him there, as he was looking to stick on the podium for this race, but he's now already down to P5 with damage that he's going to have to pit to repair. As Yopop has now closed the gap down to 3 seconds. He can see Tahiti ahead of him, as Alex gets a 3-second time penalty. Through 130R we go. Very wide, he nearly drops it there, but he just about keeps it going in the right direction. There's a lock up into the chicane there for him, as the gap increases again. Yellow flags, but I can't see where they are, as Tahiti sets the fastest lap, but is very quickly virtual safety car. I wonder what's happened here. I can't see anyone losing places, so I don't know what caused that. Maybe it was just the slow moving Sefai caused that one, but as he ducks into the pits. That is the second virtual safety car of this race already on lap 6. And Sefai is going to put on the inter tyres. No, he's not. That's a game glitching. I have no clue what's going on here. He is on the intermediate tyres. So is the track starting to dry up here? or is he just being bold as his teammate Alex also goes into the pits for what it looks like will be intermediate tyres. He's lost a lot of time to the double stack there, so maybe the track is dry enough for the inters already. And Yopop is now 6/10 behind Tahiti as the virtual safety car has ended. Is he going to look to make a move at some point on this lap? Very rapid so far this season from Yopop. Very impressive from the Toro Rosso driver. Now let's see, can he do anything up into Spring Curve? I wouldn't, but that's just me. No, he chooses not to, as very close up to the back of that McLaren there. Now can he get the drive off of this spoon corner to make his way up into 130R? He can't, he's dropped back a little bit, it looks like he's backed out of it. Now is he going to try and make the move into the chicane? He's gone to the inside, he's not quite braked late enough for that, but Tahiti's made a mistake. Tahiti's made a mistake in the second part of the chicane. This will allow Yopop to have a very good run on him as Tahiti dives into the pits. From what I'm assuming will be intermediate, just like the Red Bull drivers. So Yopop continues on and takes the lead of this race after crashing out of qualifying and being in P3. After an early spin on lap 1 and going all the way to the back of the grid, he is back up into the lead of this race as he goes very wide there at turn 1 and 2. So maybe these tyres are starting to run out. As yes, it's the intermediate tyres for Tahiti. That's a 5-second time penalty for Sefai, who is now retired. Looks like a rage quit to me. He's retired on the way up to the chicane. So let's see, was it intentional or not? This is a virtual safety car deployed. Oh no, he did. He lost it on the curb from the looks of it and has retired from the session. He's the first driver to legitimately retire from the session down there at 130R. So the virtual safety car will neutralise the race a bit. Drivers will have to drive round to the Delta as West has taken this opportunity to pit for what I'll assume will be intermediate tyres. As yes, you can see the green stripe there on the tyres that his mechanics are holding. So this will be very frustrating for Lopez to have to stick behind. Drive-through penalty, speeding on the virtual safety car. Yeah. So the ghosted Lopez, who is now spun and hit the wall on the exit of the hairpin there and is now retired from the session, making them the second retirement from this Japanese Grand Prix. So yeah, very unfortunate there, as we are now down to 13 runners as we get back underway after that virtual safety car. Let's see, is Yopop going to take this opportunity to pit? As he spins, Yopop has spun at the final corner. Ooh, just where he crashed in qualifying. This allows his teammate into the lead of the race, although his teammate has had to slow down a lot to try and manoeuvre around the spinning Yopop there, as Yopop has now entered the pits. Does he have damage? Doesn't look like it, but he is going to fit the intermediate tyres. Let's see, where will he fall down to in this race? Will Tahiti get back ahead of him? Tahiti's already back ahead of him. So that undercut has worked very nicely for the McLaren driver there, who is moving up into 4th place with the top 3 drivers all having not pitted so far in this race. So they will still be on the wet tyres. Let's see how quickly he can catch these wet tyre runners to see if the Inters are truly the best tyre to be running right now. As Yopop is down in P7, a long way behind Tahiti here, about 10 seconds behind Tahiti from the looks of it. As Tahiti looks like he might be very rapidly catching the cars ahead. So if Kev, Ahmed and Anu don't pit this lap, they could be under threat from the Inters runners, as Lexa and Blackleaf still have not pitted, as well as Dark and the still disconnected Simo. As we have yellow flags in Sector 1, it looks like the Red Bull of Alex moving slowly there. So don't know what's happened to him, but he's lost a lot of time there to the car ahead, as he just about catches that one there. Very, very good to catch that at the top of the hill. Very dangerous place in this track. Very easy to spin as Ahmed, a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. Now that is huge, so I'm assuming that'll be at the end of 130R as Ahmed continues on as Kev has pitted. And Anu follows Kev into the pits, so it will be Ahmed, the only person at the top of this race to have not pitted for inters, as Anu speeds in the pit lane and receives a 5-second time penalty for it. As yeah, look at this, every driver on the wet, except for Ahmed, is now taking this opportunity to pit. Now, Tahiti, 8 seconds behind Ahmed here. Obviously, very easy to catch that time through a pit stop. But let's see what he can do on the track. As Simo's AI is still neglecting to pit here, as well as Dark. Dark is, I'm assuming, not going to pit for inters at this rate. Maybe he knows something we don't, or maybe he just wants the positions. As Alexa finally gets through on the ghost of Simo. After all this time, it's Tahiti with a 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits down at the hairpin. Now that could be very detrimental to his race, as Yopop is now only 6.5 seconds behind. That might be the penalty that costs him the victory here in Suzuka. Very, very close race so far. Going to be hard to tell who's going to win. But Yopop at the moment is doing enough to win the championship here in Japan, as it is currently a 3-4 for the Toro Rosso team, so a lot of good points here for them today. Now, is Ahmed going to finally pit for the intermediate tyres? Looks like he will as he moves to the inside. He does dive into the pits for the inter tyres as he speeds into the pit lane, receiving a 5-second time penalty. Unfortunately for him. Now Dark is being swamped by drivers here as Yopop does set the fastest lap of the race here on the intermediate tyres. Is Dark going to be the final driver to pit onto the inters, as he's losing ground very quickly so far this lap? As interesting to note, Aled, as Dark goes into the gravel trap, so not what he wanted there. As he continues on, he does not dive into the pits. Very interestingly there for the Haas driver, as we have a very close battle going on in the down at turn 1 between Aled, Ahmed and Anu. Ahmed having just left the pit lane, so very well done to Aled so far, who has moved up this order very quickly with the use of his strategy, as he was down the back after a lap 1 incident earlier on in this race. So showing good pace so far to be ahead of Anu, and tucked up right behind Ahmed here, as this is probably the worst camera angle I've ever seen with a tree in the way. Very close up behind the Williams is Anu. He's going to look for a move into the hairpin. He's left the space. A bit of a squirm there from the Ferrari driver as he makes contact with Aled. They're both off the track. Now, from the looks here, I think Aled did squeeze him a bit too much there, but luckily for the two drivers, not too much damage done, as Lexa now goes around the outside of Anu, who was trying to rejoin the track. It looks like both drivers have managed to keep their front wings intact as Anu makes contact with Lexa and gets a 3-second time penalty for track limits there. Not the greatest lap ever for the Ferrari driver here, having gone off the track twice, as Dark receives another time penalty as he's now down in P8 on those wet tyres. Surely he's got to be pitting for inters at some point, as it is very clear that his strategy has not worked out. Yopop, interestingly to note, is not catching Tahiti as fast as he did on the wet tyre, so Tahiti has managed to keep that gap to about 2 seconds at the moment, whilst Kev is 10 seconds down on his teammate in P3. Ahmed has been very fortunate with the collision between Aled and Anu to extend the gap to 2 seconds over the Williams driver here. So, as the field looking like it's about to start spreading out, as Lexa is under pressure here from the Ferrari of Anu through the S section. Not the greatest place to make a move in all honesty, but he had a little look, that's for sure. Is he going to be able to do anything on the run up to the double right-hander? He's had a much better exit than the full racing point here. He does get on the grass though, and that ruins his run down into the double right-hander, as Yopop now very close behind. He's within a second on Tahiti here, so this race is looking like it's going to be very close for the lead here, as Anu is not able to find a way through on Lexus so far this lap. Now let's see, is the opportunity going to come up into Spoon? It doesn't look like he's close enough. 7/10 back is definitely not enough through there, as our leading two go onto the main straight. Yopop 1.1 seconds behind Tahiti and sets the new fastest lap of the race with 1:43.0 as they move down into the first turn in the same order that they started that straight, as the lead now extended to 12.2 seconds over Kev. So Kev not looking too competitive in these changeable conditions, although P3 is very good for him. I'm sure he'll be happy with it so far, as Ahmed is not making any progress on him at all. Aled not quite able to catch up to Ahmed at the speed that I'm sure he'd be hoping to, as Yopop with the 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings, as Dark finally moves into the pit lane. So if Yopop receives too many penalties here, he could find that his advantage that he'll have over Tahiti once penalties are applied will be cut, which means that he'll be very careful for the rest of this race, as he doesn't want a small mistake to ruin the victory here for him. As looks like Aled has caught right up to the back of Ahmed now within a second, so is he going to be able to make a move into the hairpin, I wonder? No, it doesn't look like he will, as Yopop now very close behind Tahiti. 3/10 is the gap as they go through 130R very quickly. Tahiti taking a much tighter line there than the Toro Rosso driver of Yopop, who looks to get a better run out of the final corner. He might be able to do it. He's going to go defensive as the McLaren driver here, right tight up to the wall, cutting off Yopop's inside line. So they will go into the first corner in the same order they've been for this entire race. So Tahiti doing very well to defend from the Toro Rosso of Yopop here so far today, as Aled and Ahmed now move on to the main straight. It doesn't look like Aled's going to be close enough. 9/10 down the straight, it's not enough. He's way too far back, as the slipstream of course is majorly reduced on these wet conditions. Now very close between Yopop and Tahiti here. Is Yopop going to look for a move up into the hairpin? Is he going to try and outbrake the McLaren? He has a little look but does not make the move. This might compromise his run into the next section of the track now, as Simo's AI finally pits for him. He's still unable to rejoin this race, so it looks like it will be another unfortunate disconnection for Simo today. The British driver not having the best of luck when it comes to connections so far this season. Hello Ero, very nice to see you here today. You're just joining in to see a very tight battle between Yopop and Tahiti, as basically pushing him through the final on the exit of 130R. There is a slight lock up there from Yopop. Does this affect his run? No, he's going to try and go round the outside onto the main straight. Does touch the grass, which is going to compromise his run, as Aled is through on Ahmed as they exit Spoon. But that's not the fight we're looking towards, as he tries to go around the outside. They make contact, drifting through the first and second corner there. It goes wide, just about able to catch it. So he will live to fight another day, and does not look to have any damage. Fortunately for him, this will allow him to get back on the attack, and I'm sure he'll catch right back up to Tahiti very soon. As Anu now makes a move down the inside of Lexa through the final corner. Is he going to have a better run down the straight? It looks like he will. So the move looks like it's going to stick, but Lexa looks to the inside and backs out of the move very wisely there. So the Racing Point is now behind the Ferrari, who's going to look to try and chase down Ahmed, who he was fighting with earlier on in this race, but due to an unfortunate incident with Aled, an unfortunate incident with Lexa, they lost a lot of time to the Mercedes driver. Very close coming up to Spoon here. I would doubt he'd make a move through here, as it's not a very good corner to overtake, as Sebastian Vettel proved last year, or was it the year before? Probably the year before, when he tried to make the dive bomb on Verstappen. Big gap of pace difference between top two and the rest. Yes, the difference so far this race has been pretty large. I think strategy has helped a little bit with Tahiti and Yopop being able to pit for inters at times where they weren't going to get held up. I think Tahiti went very early, Yopop went very late to avoid the traffic jam which is the pit lane. And obviously a lot of incidents that have happened so far this race have affected some of the drivers behind, like Aled. His lap 1 spin put him all the way down in last, but he's already made his way back up to 4th place in this race. So it was very close between a few of the drivers, but the field has spread due to these little incidents here and there. Safai was also right up here with Tahiti, however made a mistake and was out of the race as Yopop goes very wide through there and loses a lot of time now, over a second behind Tahiti. I'm sure Tahiti will release a sigh of relief as they looks behind him to see the gap has increased. Hey, that rhymed. Very nice. So Tahiti is now dropping back within that 1 second gap to Yopop, so unable to make that small advantage last very long, but I'm sure he will try his hardest to defend from the Toro Rosso as we come through to the end of the lap. Very tight line there from the McLaren driver. It is his preferred line throughout this race, but it does give him a slightly worse run than the Toro Rosso as they come down this main straight. The gap already back down to half a second after that small mistake earlier on this lap, as we have a very close battle going on between Alex and West as well in the lower end of the point, as there's a yellow flag, not sure who it's for. Looks like Anu is round at the exit of 130R. Very unfortunate for him. He's had an awful race when it comes to luck, and he's got damage, so he's going to have to pit to repair that one. Very unlucky so far today, as he nearly spins again into the pits and is speeding into the pit lane. Not too much he could have done about that one, if I'm being honest, as he serves that penalty now. Okay, let's see Tahiti and Yopop side by side through the hairpin. Tahiti just managing to defend his position there. Nearly missed that one, but luckily just about caught it, as Alex looks like he's going into the pits. Alex does pit, allowing West through to P9 and JJ Dog up into the points. So I wonder why he's pitting. Does he have damage? I wonder. As Anu now drops down to P10 from where he was earlier. Now, is this back marker going to play any part in this fight for the lead? I doubt it. He is ghosted, but you never know. Being inside these back markers is quite distracting and can lead to missing of a braking point, but they get through it very cleanly, as Yopop now right on the tail of Darth Tahiti as he sets the new fastest lap of the race. He's going to look to the inside, switch to the outside. Tahiti right in the middle of the road to block off both of those moves. Very nicely done through this first sector. I'm sure Tahiti will be happy that he defended that one, because it's very difficult to overtake into this S section. So I'm sure he'll feel safe, as Tahiti doesn't look like he gets a good run out of that last part of the S's. They run side by side down into the double right-handed. Tahiti does have the inside line, And Yopop does switch back, but he has damage from contact there. He didn't give Tahiti too much room on the exit there, but Yopop does have damage from that instant. I did see debris flying off. So that will slow him down. And I'm sure he'll be very unhappy at the way as Tahiti's back into the lead as Yopop has gone off the track and into the wall. Very unfortunate for him there, but I do believe that since Safai is out of this session, as the virtual safety car comes out and JJ Dog pits, Yopop is still going to win the Drivers' World Championship. As I think he went a bit too fast through there with his damage. So very unfortunate for him to be out of this race, but if my maths is right, he does still win the title. Virtual safety car still very slow here. So the rain is easing off a bit by the looks of it as JJ Dog receives a drive-through for speeding under the VSC. So the VSC ends here as we are now down to 12 drives in this race, 11 technically, because Simo is still disconnected from this session unfortunately for him, as West and Anu are now moving up positions because of Yopop's crashed car. This will mean that Dark will be able to get a couple of points here if things stand, as Haas have been doing very poorly so far this season, and he is the only one flying the flag for the American team so far in this race, with 10 laps to go, or 9 and a bit laps to go in this race. It's looking fairly comfortable for our leader Tahiti here. So I'm not sure how he'll feel about the incident with Yopop, but I'm sure he will be very pleased if he can convert this pole position into a win here today. As Kev, his closest car on track, is 17 seconds behind, so it will take a lot for that gap to close in the time left in the session, as Ahmed is starting to fall back a bit on Aled here. Saying that, it looks like he had a much better run through the long right-hander, so the gap is closing again, but these two are not really making any sort of attempt to make this race any more exciting for us, as Aled runs very wide through 130R there. I'm sure that will give him a warning. Eight tenths is the gap as they come through to the final corner. This is the closest battle on track, unfortunately, and it's looking like Ahmed does not have as good a run as the Williams driver ahead of him does. Aled, by the way, who has moved up onto the podium now, as Lexa pits for damage or new tyres. Just new tyres from the looks of it. So I wonder what that happened there, because you shouldn't really need to change tyres in this race, I don't think. But that allows Blackleaf to move up into 5th place, and as I was saying, Aled, after being at the very back of the grid at the end of lap 1, is now up onto the podium and is closing the gap on Kev. So I'm sure he'll be happy with his performance so far today, as Ahmed dropping further and further behind the Williams driver as this race goes on. As Dark gets a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, unfortunately for him, who is running still in P9, so gaining some small points for the Haas outfit today, unless Sierra Alex can catch him and say anything about it, as he is the only driver left for Red Bull in this race, as he was running up near the front earlier on but had to double stack with Safai, who is now out of the race, as Ahmed goes very wide there if you're 130R. Driver's struggling to keep it on the track in these damp conditions. Well, damp, very wet conditions. There's a 3-second time penalty is given to Lexa for multiple warnings. I have a feeling penalties will be a big factor in this race today, and I'm not sure how many penalties Kev has, but I know it's definitely less than Tahiti. And while we're in this down period of the race, why not check? So Tahiti has 10 seconds of penalties, whereas Kev has only 1 penalty, for which I'm assuming will be 3 seconds. So if he can get within 7 seconds of Tahiti in this race, he could take the win away from him today. But the 16 seconds at the moment is not looking like it's coming down fast enough for that to be a possibility. So he's got to hope that Tahiti cuts some more corners, I guess. As Anu sets the fastest lap of the race on his fresh into tyres. So very nice from him in P8, after unfortunately losing out to an incident earlier on in the race where he could probably be up in somewhere P3, P4 right now if it hadn't have happened. As Alex is now closing right up to the back of Dark as JJ Dog pits for fresh into tyres, dropping him all the way back down to 11th place and the last of the player controlled cars in this race. Unfortunately for him, as Aled runs wide again, Ahmed is closing the gap. So has he preserved his tyres a bit better, I wonder, because it's looking like that might be the case as he catches Aled, but he pits. Ahmed dives into the pits to change his intermediate tyres for some fresh ones, and robbing us of any excitement we had over that battle, which I'm not going to pretend was too much because they weren't doing anything for ages, but very strange, because I would have thought that most of the drivers would have tried to go on to the end of the race with these tyres. So let's see, as Anu is now only 6/10 behind West ahead of him. Can he do anything into this next section? On hello to Houseman. Sorry I didn't see that earlier. As Anu sets another fastest lap of the race. 7/10, he's catching West very nicely. Is he going to be able to make a move into P7 anytime soon? Let's hope so, because not much else has happened recently. As Dark is now behind CRL Alex. As Anu gets past West after a mistake at the top of the hill after the S section. Sorry, I went silent for a minute there. I was being asked what I wanted to eat for dinner. So yeah, sorry. West, after that mistake, is very rapidly dropping off the back of Anu. Anu looking very fast in this race so far. Might even be able, well, if Lexa, let's see what penalties Lexa has, because I believe Lexa does have a fair few penalties. Let's see, 1, 2, oh, only 2 penalties, and Anu has, okay, right, so Anu actually has more penalties than Lexa does right now, meaning that he's going to have to overtake Lexa if he has any hope of finishing P6 in this race. There's Aled and Blackleaf still yet to pit, just like Tahiti and Kev have. So it's going to be very interesting to see if Ahmed's strategy of pitting will work out for him, as we have 5 laps left in this race. The second half of this race nowhere close to as interesting as the first half, but let's hope that can change. Maybe a safety car to bump the field up at some point. At the end of this race is Tahiti. Another 10-second time penalty for exceeding track limits, as there's a yellow flag somewhere. Looks like it might have been Ahmed caused the yellow flag, as Lexa is now very close on the back of him. But that will mean that Tahiti is Ooh, and that's a punt there for Ahmed from behind. Lexa, I don't think got any damage from that one, fortunately for them. But that does mean that Tahiti, if penalties stand as they are, will finish P2 in this race. So he's going to have to try and extend that gap that he has to Kev if he has any hope of winning this race. As very sideways through spoon curve there for Ahmed. Bit of Tokyo drift. As Lexa has dropped off the back of that Mercedes fairly fast in the last sector. Mostly due to the contact they made, but let's hope that they can make something of this fight throughout this race. As Dark with a 3-second time penalties. Anu pits again, and so does West. What? Why has Anu pitted? He's serving a very long penalty there. The soft tyres. Anu has gone onto the soft tyres. So has West. Now, is this going to work out for these two drivers? I think it's way too late on in the race to be doing this, and the track still looks very wet. There's not too much of a dry line forming, so this might be a huge mistake in strategy from these two drivers, but let's see what they can do with their fresh wet tyres. As Darth Tahiti coming up to lap these two now on his inters, and a very nice helmet he's got there, so yeah, I don't know what I was going with that one. I just wanted to say his helmet looked nice, to be honest. As JJ Dog also pits for the soft tyres. Oh, and that's a spin for Anu. He's just about kept it out of the wall, so he should be able to continue on, but that does drop him down to P10. As Aled has now pitted for what I will only assume will be the soft tyres as well. He is, he's going onto the slicks. So Williams also trying to get that soft tyre advantage for the rest of this race. And if it works out for him, I think this could do very well, because if the undercut is going to be effective, he could gain a lot of time here on Blackleaf, who is 17 seconds ahead of him. 18 seconds ahead of him now. So he's going to have to hope that Blackleaf pits, otherwise he might have just cost himself P3 in this race, as those soft tyres do not look like they're gripping to the track very well, as the dry line just isn't forming at the moment. You can see it a bit, but look how slowly he's taking these corners, and look how quickly Ahmed is catching him in those intermediate tyres. It very much might have been a mistake to pit here, as Ahmed with an easy move through the double right hander on Aled there. So these soft tyres are not working out for these guys at all. And it was, I think, way too risky for a top runner to pit for slicks at this point in the race, as Lex are getting held up by Aled now. Just can't keep it pointing the right way. Yellow flags in sector 3. It's one of the Ferraris. It's Anu. He's spun again through the final corner this time. So these soft tyre runners are definitely regretting their decision at this point to pit for the slicks. As you can see, the top 5 drivers at this point in time still have not changed tyres, with 3 laps left in this race. Aled, I'm sorry man, but I think you've just cost yourself a podium with that one, as he is nowhere close to fast enough to keep up with these intermediate tyre runners right now. And there's no close battles on track right now. This is actually the closest gap between any pair of cars, is Lexa and Ahmed. So last 3 laps of this race are looking pretty set. To finish as they are, with unless penalties do anything, as Aled does pit again for intermediate tyres. Huge mistake from the Williams driver there, who just hasn't had too much luck so far this season, if I'm being honest, as JJ Dog is now being caught by the ghosted Simo. Now, if Simo can pull this off and get points as an AI driver, that would be incredible. Look at that. Disconnected AI driver overtaking a real life driver. As JJ Dog goes way wide for a long right hander there. Wow. I'm sure these soft tyre runners will be looking to pit once again very soon. So we move back to the closest pair of cars on track, 3.5 seconds apart for Lexa and Ahmed. Okay, and sliding to the final corner there, that's not going to gain Lexa too much time, although Lexa is very slightly, and very, very slightly, catching Ahmed ahead, who is visible in frame, going through the first corner. So maybe this gap can close up. As the gap is increasing through this first sector, so maybe not. So all up to penalties now, I guess, as we're on the penultimate lap of this race, to see who is going to win. I think, with the way it currently stands, Kev might actually be in contention to win this race with penalties and everything, but I'm not going to check this late on in the race because it would ruin the excitement, if I'm being completely honest. So let's see as we come through to the final lap of the race. This is Sector 1 yellow flag. It's for the Red Bull of Alex, who's gone off the track in the S section. I don't think Dark's going to catch him though. I think he's fairly safe as Alex gets a 3-second time penalty. Yeah, I think Alex is pretty safe. I don't think he's going to get overtaken by anyone here. However, that might cost him a chance at getting past Aled with penalties. So, unfortunate for him. JJ Dog on a 3-second time penalty. Not that it will affect him too much, as he's down in last place behind the disconnected driver of Simo. So very unfortunate for him today. So let's ride on board for this final half of a lap with Darth Tahiti, as the track does now look dry enough, quite ironically, for the wet, dry tyres, as DRS will not be enabled during this race at all. So yeah, anyone looking for some DRS overtakes will be severely disappointed, because I believe DRS might actually only be 1 or 2 laps away from being enabled as it stands. As a yellow flag, it's Alex again making another mistake at 130R. As Tahiti comes, crosses the line in P1. Very nice drive today from Tahiti. Let's see now if Kev can get ahead on penalties. He is going to be backed up by Alex and Dark. Dark, who does actually manage to close up to Alex, as Kev wins the race from penalties, as a 5-second time penalty is given to Dark there. So your winner today is Kev, as Blackleaf has spun. This might allow Ahmed to catch right up, as this is the final chicane. I don't think Ahmed's anywhere close enough, actually. No, I think Blackleaf is fairly safe to grab a podium here today. Very nice drive from the Ferrari driver, who at one point in this race was very much in doubt whether he was going to get too many points. It was very tentatively through the final chicane here for the Merc of Ahmed, with Lexa not too far behind. Let's see, is Lexa going to finish in 5th place? He is. Okay, Aled, the final person to cross the line, the last person not to be lapped in this race, is going to finish P6 after a poor choice to switch tyres very early on. Not very early, sorry, when it started drying up, but it was just not time yet. So, through the final corner comes Aled. to take P6 in this Japanese Grand Prix. Now, how was that? I have no idea who's going to win all the way up until the end, and Kev manages to take their first win in the series here in Japan after a crazy wet race. So just to confirm as we come onto the final screen, your winner today is Kev, followed by Tahiti, who led the entire race from pole position, and just penalties cost him this race, to be honest. Blackleaf gets third, Ahmed fourth, Lexa fifth, Aled sixth, Alex seventh, Dark 8, West 9, and Anu rounds up the top 10, with Simo disconnecting and still achieving P11 ahead of JJ Dog, who was not disconnected. Your non-finishers were Yopop, Sefai and Lopez, two of which had very high hopes for today, but unfortunately not good enough for the two top drivers in this league, in this F3 division. So they'll be very disappointed, but if I'm right, this means that Yopop is your Season 3 Ero F3 World Champion. So congratulations to him if that is true. I believe the point gap is now 40 something points, which, unless we do double points at the last round, is not being closed up. So yeah, well done to him, despite not finishing this race after a collision with Tahiti. Yeah, definitely did bottle third place there, Aled. I'm very unfortunate for you, but well done on P6 anyway. From the back, from the lap 1 incident, that was still impressive. Yopop is the champion. Yopop has won the championship. That is confirmed by Watinho in the comments there. So well done to him. I'm sure he'll be looking for an F2 drive next year, as he has shown some very good pace so far this season to really be one of the fastest guys in this league. So well done to him. Congratulations. I believe Sefai is now looking to grab P2 in the championship, as that's the most he can get. Timats, yeah, sure, yeah, okay. And so of course join us in about 40 minutes time for the Ero F2 race, which will also be taking place here in Japan. And of course join us tomorrow at 6 PM for the Ero F1 race, which will be taking place in Mexico, as they are a week behind F2 and 3. So 6 o'clock British summertime, for both F2 and F1. F2 is today, F1 is tomorrow. Thank you all for joining me today. It's probably been one of the most active streams for F3 so far. So thank you guys for that one. Appreciate it very much, and